next, and mildly controversially, I thought it'd be good for us to just kind of talk through what our pet peeves are as an influencer marketing agency, obviously as part of the wider social agency. And that is because I think there's a lot of confusion around influencer marketing, and we get the same instances pop up that we kind of have to end up repeating ourselves quite a lot, which is absolutely fine. That we're there to guide people and give them the guidance on things. But I think it'd be good to just talk through sort of, I don't know, the 3 top things that we end up repeating ourselves.
So I guess first and foremost is just understanding the difference between celebrity talent and then influencers. You know, a lot of celebrities, yes, they do tend to have a really large kind of social following, but they are not, more often than not, they are not content creators, which is what an influencer also tends to be. So, you know, celebrities, they are kind of, they've got large public profiles and, you know, they tend to be kind of household names. But if you want to do an influencer campaign that has kind of mass brand awareness and is delivering kind of really engaging content, celebrities aren't always going to be the best type of talent to really be working with on your campaign. That might be where more of a macro influencer who has experience in creating engaging content for an audience and has experience in growing an audience and, you know, has a very large following. So just kind of differentiating the two is something that we do kind of find sometimes crops up time and time again.
Yeah, it does. And I think the thing to know is, if you're working with a celebrity and not an influencer, 7 out of 10 times you need to hire a videographer and send them to shoot the content.
Yeah.
It's not going to work the same as you just sending off a whole load of product and expecting them to shoot it. It's not what they do. They also have very different schedules, so they're not going to be as flexible as a normal influencer, and they're not going to have the same influence over a social audience as an influencer does.
Exactly.
And I think brands are clocking on to this at the minute. Emma Chamberlain and Aritzia, for example.
Definitely.
So I think where brands would have historically signed on a celebrity to be the face of the brand, they're clocking on to the fact that these online creators, influencers, actually have more influence and are kind of taking that away from traditional celebrities, you know, your actors, your singers, your things like that, and pulling it back and giving it to influencers. And I think we'll see more and more of that, influencers really taking over that what traditionally would be celebrity endorsement type of campaign. But we do get a lot of clients come to us and they're like, yeah, we want an influencer campaign, and then we'll send over a short list and they'll be like, I don't know who these people are. And I'm like, but your personal preference shouldn't be dictating that. It's who's right for the audience. And just because it's not a household name, which you're not going to get with influencers, doesn't mean it's not quite right. And so that probably is point 2, to be fair.
Exactly.
Not letting your personal social preferences get in the way of what's right for your audience.
Exactly. And it's like, it's a really easy trap to fall into, but I think also that's what's really great about, you know, the influencer team here. You know, we've got people who know the who's who in terms of like your Gen Z sort of influencers, and then it kind of works its way up a little bit. We kind of, as a wider agency, you know, everyone's always kind of sharing things and suggesting different people. So, you know, on the whole, we do kind of know the who's who of, you know, who you want to be working with. But just because maybe you don't have awareness of who, you know, that TikTok food creator is, who's got, you know, 500,000 followers, is, it doesn't therefore mean they're not right for your brand.
Yeah.
You know, they actually ultimately should be right for your audience. So it's
like,
just worth bearing in mind.
Let the data speak for itself.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, look at the audience data, and if it's right, you know, potentially consider it. But you're building an influencer campaign presumably for your audience, not for yourself. So it's important that people kind of realise that.
Definitely. And I guess, you know, the final sort of point is around content creators as well, and just fairly treating them, I think. You know, again, they are experts in producing really kind of great quality, engaging, social first content, and they do need to be fairly reimbursed for the time and effort they put into producing content. Like taking a brief, digesting it and thinking, how can I put my kind of creative spin on this? It takes time to kind of consider what that final concept is going to be and what that final piece of content is going to look like. You know, actually taking the time to film it, edit, shoot it, whatever it is that they're doing, applying voiceovers, you know, it's just the same as kind of hiring a videographer or a creative team. So it's really important that just because you're not using them for their influence as such doesn't make them any less valuable.
For those that maybe don't know, content creators would be people that maybe have like less than 10,000 followers normally. And traditionally brands would just say, we'll just give them some free product and ask them to make a video for us. But just because they have less than 10,000 followers and you're not necessarily asking them to post it on their page doesn't mean that what they're creating for you isn't of value. And like you said, they are in that stage of being basically a video producer. So you would pay a videographer to create a video. So you need to think about the same with content creators. Obviously, there can be anomalies there. Like if you're giving them a sofa or something, you could potentially get away with doing a gifted collaboration there. But it's important that not only from a moral perspective, but also from a PR perspective. You know, a lot of brands have gotten in trouble recently where content creators and micro influencers have fairly spoken out about the fact that they're not being fairly compensated for things.
Exactly.
And so you should do it anyway from a moral perspective.
And
but
equally for like from an ASA perspective as well, like following those sorts of advertising guidelines when working with influencers and creators, it is really key that you're not just kind of gifting them products, because they need to equally, if they're doing that with you, it needs to be compliant with the guidelines that are out there too.
100%. So yeah, just be nice to your influencers and your content creators.